Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to discuss manual mode versus auto in your camera. I know it's a pretty big habit to get a brand new camera or want to learn photography and you end up with this camera with a million buttons and you don't know how to use it. Everybody tells you should use it on manual mode, but you don't understand what they're getting at because the photos that you're taking in auto seem to be just fine. Well, for this video, I have taken a few photos in different scenarios and I set the camera to manual, the settings I would use if I was taking a photo in that scenario, and then I switched it over to auto and I took photos doing the same exact thing in there to see what the camera chooses. So you can be the judge, but I guarantee you manual wins. For these photos, I used the same lens and the same camera for all of these. I used my Canon 5D Mark III with my Tamron 35mm 1.4. So all of these pictures were taken with the same setup, and so even I usually use my 6D for a lot of the tutorials, but for this one I wanted to make sure that it was the best camera that I owned. So I wanted to see like this very high-end 5D Mark III. You know, it's still a really great camera. Even that auto is not going to be the best choice for your camera. Even that good of a camera, choosing the settings for you, it's not going to make smart decisions. Keep that in mind. So let's take a look at the first one. The first one that we did was an indoor shot. We have this window in our stairwell that kind of shines light on the wall really pretty, and it's just like nice soft lighting coming from one direction. So we started inside and that's the shot that I did first. Besides the fact that my kid did not want to cooperate, so disregard her face in any of these photos because she seriously did not want to participate, but I made her do it anyways. Okay, so here we are in the stairwell. The photo on your left is the photo in auto, and the photo on the right is the photo that I took in manual mode where I selected all the settings. So let's just talk about some differences. So the photo on the left, being in auto, the camera chose an ISO of 100. It is what it is. An f-stop of 3.2 and a shutter speed of 1/50. I definitely have a rule that I never shoot under 1/250 just because like any little movement will show up. Like you could blink too fast and 1/50 would make your subject's eyes blurry. But now let's look over at the manual shot so we can compare the settings. So these are the settings that I chose for the manual photo. I chose ISO of 500 because we were inside, so that's how I wanted to add light into the camera. f2.0, also that being lower, lets more light into the camera, to then allow the shutter speed to be 1/400. You can see, even if you're not like a super understanding of manual mode, my other settings were different so that my shutter speed could be faster. And then just real quick, we will zoom in on these photos, specifically her eyes, and you can see right there, you can see that my photo in manual, her eyeballs are nice and crispy clear, and just the tiny bit of movement, she was kind of looking around, she didn't want to be doing what we were doing, so the tiny bit of movement, now her eyes are not in focus. So, and that honestly is due to the shutter speed. I also really like shooting in Kelvin, and that allows you to manually select your color, like your white balance. And I just, sure, the wall behind her is white, all the walls in our house are white, but I like a warmer photo, so just right out of camera, the color when I'm shooting manual with the Kelvin settings are so much better than the very blue tinted photo that is to the left. Okay, moving right along to the next shot. We went outside. I had her just kind of sit on a wall outside to get some sunshine in. She sat kind of maybe like a foot away from a plant in the background. And it was very bright out, so she's very squinty-eyed. Okay, so these are the outdoor shots. Again, my kid did not want to participate, but I kept it the same. So the photo on the left is the photo that was taken in auto, and the photo on the right is the one that was taken in manual mode with my selections. So let's talk about the settings. Okay, So you'd think I'd figure out by now that I need a new memory card and my camera more often, or to like check it before I start recording because my camera cut out again. Anyways, let's get back to those photos outside. I had to rewind and see where it cut off. Whatever. Okay, so photos outside. The ones of her outside, let's go ahead and talk about the settings for both photos. So the one on the left is the auto, and the settings for that one are ISO 100, f 7.1, and shutter speed 1/200. The right one is my manual photo, and it's ISO 100, f 2.0. I just kept it the same, and shutter speed 1/2000. The biggest difference in this photo, because there wasn't really a lot of movement, I mean, she's definitely not tack sharp or anything, but the biggest thing in this photo is going to be the background. If you look, just the tree, and it was like a foot behind her. It wasn't really like super far away, but that shutter speed, or that aperture being 2.0 as opposed to 7.1, like you just end up getting such a prettier background. I mean, if you look, in general, the background's pretty like messy, but it's definitely better on the 2.0 side. That's the biggest difference. Also, you know, my photo is also warmer just because that's how I chose to have it. Okay, so the very next photo that we are going to talk about, I wanted to do something with movement. So I had her do some cartwheels. I had her do cartwheels, and I kind of tried to pick photos that were her like in the same moment. So I had her do 2 cartwheels, and these are about as close as I could get to them being like the same moment. So as you can see, the one on the left is the auto one, and the one on the right is my manual one. Let's talk about the settings. So the auto settings that the camera chose were ISO 100, that aperture being 7.1 again, and the shutter speed being 1/200, which for moving subjects. I tend to not shoot over, or I try not to shoot under 1/250 just in general. Like that's just like my rule. If people are moving, obviously faster, but I don't ever, even for somebody sitting still in front of me, I don't go under 1/250 just for the sake of I hate blur and you can't fix blur. So my manual settings for the manual photo are ISO 100, f 2.0, kept that the same again, and 1/1600. So as you can see, the manual photo, the 1/1600 has definitely frozen her movement. Very specifically, her hair would be the biggest thing you could notice in that. It's pretty insane how just by making sure my shutter speed was high, this is like 10 times better of a photo. And this also goes to show you that when people say you can't shoot at a low aperture, like you get sharper photos when you shoot at a higher aperture. Not always the case. I think shutter speed is way more important than your aperture. I think you could shoot on a lens that is wide open if your shutter speed is high enough. Yeah, I said it. So to me, shutter speed on a moving subject, I did that whole video on moving subjects. I will link it. And that is, to me, the most important thing is shutter speed. So me doing 1/1600 versus the camera choosing 1/200, clearly you can see the difference. Okay, so we've decided that manual mode is best. If you don't know how to shoot in manual mode, there are tons of videos on YouTube. Maybe I will do a video on the exposure triangle, but I hope that if you are still somebody who is interested in photography and you are shooting in manual thinking that everything is fine, you spent a bunch of money on this camera and it should be able to choose the right settings for you. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, they are not that smart. So learn yourself some manual mode. It will be the best thing that you do. Don't be scared of it. It actually, once you kind of get the hang of it and understand what everything is, you will understand. If you look at a photo and it's blurry, I hope this video helps you maybe see why it's blurry, just by having explained the settings for both pictures and auto and manual. So yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I post new videos on Tuesdays and Fridays, and that is all I have for today. Bye!